Dungeon Dude 3D is a strange hybrid between a traditional tabletop game and a video game. The idea behind it is that you pick a dude, one of these strange characters, and then explore a limited, randomly generated world, collecting stats for your character so you can battle him offline with another person who also owns Dungeon Dudes 3D. If you don't have a friend that owns Dungeon Dudes 3D, or if you do have a friend that you just can't meet offline, then the game is basically a glorified virtual pet simulator, but with a few strange twists. A bright side to the game being so low effort in appearance is that it is perfectly moddable. It's very easy to change all of the graphics, music, and anything superficial about the game in any way you like, such as putting in characters like Captain Falcon, if you don't feel like staring at one of the ugly default characters. When you start the game and begin exploring, you will find the game world is a randomly generated series of walls and icons. The icons are abstract representations of events you may encounter. For example, the sword icons represent exploration, where you can either fight enemies or obtain gold or items. The enemies you fight are automatically fought without any input from you. The game simply determines who wins based on stats. These sword icons, called exploration icons, are the meat of the game because that's where all the interesting stuff, if you want to call it that, happens. There are a variety of enemies, though they only appear as text, and it's how you get gold and items. There are other icons, of course, such as boxing gloves, which are training icons that you can use to gain new skills, which are only useful in the offline combat tabletop mode. Then there are the food icons, which are picnic baskets. Eating fills your character's health back to full, and they eat automatically upon touching the icon. And lastly, there is the poop icon, which is just poop. There's nothing special about it, it's just a turd. Your character also has a status in the upper left that constantly changes as you play, but the status does not seem to affect anything and appears to mostly be there just for humorous effect. The game does think it's kind of funny for some reason. If you're curious what the point of the game is, or if it has a win-loss state, well, to the latter question, kind of. You can die, and when you die, there's an animated image of a Grim Reaper, and you have to wait for the animation to finish before you respawn, but you keep your level, all of your items, all of your skills, and all of your experience, so it's really just a very minor setback, especially since the game is about randomly walking around and collecting events. As for there being a win state, no, not really. Unless you're planning to actually play this game offline in the tabletop setting with your friends after you level up your dude, then basically you just wander around and level up your character until you get bored. The fact that you can mod anything superficial about the game, and there being so many different enemy texts, and the fact that your dude constantly quips, and there are a few humorous details here and there, might be enough for the game to be interesting for its $1 price if there weren't also a ton of issues with the game on a technical level. The game has various glitches, such as teleporting you around the map without warning, the events randomly triggering when you're nowhere near an event icon, and sometimes the entire world just disappears, leaving you with no icons or walls at all. In a game as simple as this, basic features such as not having the world disappear before the player, or, making sure the player doesn't teleport randomly around the simple geometry, feel like they should be mandatory. Then there are the intentionally awful choices, such as the grating music that plays whenever you move anywhere, the overly long death animation, and the absolutely hideous character designs. It seems like it's meant to be a throwaway time waster, something like Solitaire, and it was originally a browser game in its 2D incarnation, but in its current state they are asking money for it, and it's just an utterly broken mess. Whether it's intentionally broken doesn't really matter, because it's not funny or clever enough to be worth that kind of pain. If you're the kind of person that really gets a laugh out of modding graphics into poorly made games, then, you could just download any MDicky game and slap whatever texture you want on those instead. And at least MDicky's games try to do something. This, I can't think of any reason to recommend this to anyone, and I can't think of anything special it does at all. I guess the idea of combining a video game and tabletop game is kind of clever, but the tabletop game aspect is also incredibly basic and not really worth your time. So that's Dungeon Dudes 3D. I really don't think you should play it.